Now for a very first, another highlight of the day, we are very happy to have with us the president of our amazing association, Professor Dr. Ottmar Wiesler is with us in the studio. And we're very happy to have the president with us. He's heading this large organization that I introduced to you before. So the president of 42,000 researchers and staff, 5 billion euros annual budget with 6 amazing research fields. And he's basically the spiritus rector of all this information and data science strategic initiatives that we are introducing you today. Ottmar Wiesler, it's great to have you with us today. Let me start you out. You made the information and data science one of the key objectives of your strategic agenda as president. So why was that? What do you think is the very key role of information and data sciences for the future of the Helmholtz Association?
Well, you see, if you are a member of an organization like Helmholtz, which is rather diverse, combines six very different research fields, from energy to health to air and space and transportation, all the way down to information, you constantly search for issues, topics, which are of relevance for everybody in the organization. And when you follow the development of our research programs, the one overarching challenge for everybody is how do we handle complexity, and which we must explore to generate new knowledge out of this enormous amount of information. And when you talk to these research areas of the Helmholtz Association or to our centers and evaluate the future research plans, data management and new avenues for information processing are at the top of everybody's list. So it was an obvious sort of priority to select and to generate a structure which helps us to combine all the expertise we have, which is substantial, but distributes throughout the country in this incubator for information and data science.
That was the very founding ideas of all the programs that we started. But focusing on the young people, I mean, obviously Helmholtz is an extra university activity, so it's not in our core business to actually educate. But what do you think is the role of the young people involved in all our programs?
Well, you see, we are an organization which pursues the mission to carry out cutting-edge research to address some of the real grand challenges for research and society. And as you pointed out, the organization is big. It can rely on reasonable funding. It has fantastic research infrastructure, satellites, airplanes, ships, synchrotron, accelerator facilities. But at the end of the day, the success of a research organization relies on one simple element, and that is the brains of the people. And I've always learned throughout my career, young talents are particularly ambitious. They are prepared to sort of go through new avenues. And this is why we put a lot of emphasis on talent management in this organization. At the end of the day, it's all about brains, particularly about young brains. And these young brains, I believe, are also the ideal candidates for the approach we are taking in the Helmholtz Information and Data Science Academy, where we really try to educate and train a new generation of young data experts. Young, talented, ambitious people who combine two major skills in their brain. One is basic knowledge about information processing, information and data science, strategies and tools. And the second one is, of course, expertise in one research domain. This can be medicine, it can be chemistry, it can be physics, it can be social science, by the way. And I'm absolutely convinced that in the future, we need experts who have a basic understanding of data management and combine this with their expertise in a specific sort of research area. And this is exactly the mission of the HIDA Academy as we have set it up.
Wonderful. I mean, with us logged in today are 1,319 people from 124 countries. The most educated, versatile people utilizing information and data sciences in all kinds of fields. So what are your thoughts? What is unique about the opportunities at Helmholtz? Why should all the people logged in now from the UK, from the US, from Australia, India, Pakistan, and so on come to us specifically?
Well, let me answer this in a more general way. How can I be successful as a junior sort of scientist who is still in his or her early stages of a career? And I think the first and very important aspect is you have to define yourself what you are really interested in. You have to select a field of research which you find exciting, where you would like to make a specific contribution. I think that is something which you really have to find out for yourself. It's the first important question. Yes. The second one is, if you have defined that, then of course you have to ask yourself, where are top institutions at the national or at the international level where I can rigorously pursue this interest? And here, of course, both at the national and the international level, Helmholtz centers are certainly attractive candidates. I mean, they are highly interdisciplinary in nature. You are usually integrated in a very vivid, interdisciplinary, ambitious environment. Helmholtz centers usually put a lot of emphasis on training and education and talent management. Support along these lines is very important if you want to pursue your career. So for a number of reasons, they are an obvious candidate. Another reason is that we have one major privilege in the German and in the international system, and that is we can rely on stable, generous, long-term funding for challenging long-term research programs. So there's a number of good reasons to consider Helmholtz centers among other candidates if you have a vivid interest, of course, in one of our core fields. That is energy research, earth, environment, climate, health, air and space and transportation, mobility is number 4. Number 5 is high-end research into the structure and origin of matter, an area where we explore real high-end research infrastructure. And last but not least, the information area. New ways of information processing, development of digital twin ideas, and high-end computing, all the way up to quantum computing. So a very rich environment and a good place to be.
Well put, and the HIDA is here to open the doors for all of you to these great programs. So, I mean, you are one of the highest decorated researchers in Germany with decades of experience in the field. How would you, evaluate the importance of the new technologies from AI, for example? Are these game changers? Are they really challenging to this grown or evolutionary developing research fields? For example, health, your field. How would you rank the potential for really disruptive changes in the fields that these young people could be a part of in the next years?
Well, I really believe that exploitation of complex data sets is one of the most challenging areas of the future. That's very obvious. I mean, medicine is a good candidate because there's hardly any other field where you collect such enormous amounts of data. By the way, from healthy people as well as from patients. And this is ever increasing. And the question is, of course, how do we exploit all this information in a smart way to better define disease, to develop new strategies for the treatment of diseases, to sort of develop tools for early detection or prevention of disease. But this example also shows data management, machine learning, AI-based algorithms are only a tool. The real challenging question is, how can you apply these tools in an intelligent fashion to your own research project?
And to the great
this is why this combination or this HIDA philosophy is so important. all the know-how and the technologies from information and data science are key here. But it is even more important to combine this with one major area of interest or research. But for most of these, I would claim AI-based new avenues for data management are probably a very important sort of future strategy. This applies to energy, it applies to mobility, it applies to satellite world. By the way, also to social sciences, that is often forgotten.
True. I mean, we've seen it now in the COVID development, that very clear understanding of the structures of the complex.
But it is also clear, I think this is an important message for young people who are enthusiastic about informatics and informatics-related disciplines. There is a certain risk that you get stuck on a lonely island of algorithm development, of new software tools. The real challenge is to apply these tools to real-world problems of research and development. This is why I really strongly believe that we must apply this sort of bimodal strategy of combining information and data science with our research sort of programs. And the best possible option is to combine this in your brain. We are probably too old for that. Young people can really match.
We hope so too. That's why we put together this lovely event today. I mean, you have been a champion of this idea to form a very large educational program, an academy per se, from the very start. So the first idea arose 2016, and you managed to mobilize substantial funding, almost 100 million euros for this large program. Could you maybe comment on the challenges that the research system itself maybe has been a little bit too far behind, and sticking to educational programs at universities that are more focused on the more traditional way to approach biology, for example, or how did you tackle the challenges of bringing together computer science faculty with this more classical domain researchers?
I think that's a key point. I mean, and this idea of Information and Data Science Academy is only one specific example for something which I believe will gain a lot of importance in the future. And that is to organize our research work much more in an interdisciplinary fashion. Because some of the most spectacular progress, and I think this virtually applies to all major research areas, is often at the borderline between entirely different fields and disciplines. Mm-hmm. So crossing borders, making sure that you have your ears and eyes open to watch what's going on in the larger environment is an absolute key. HIDA is just one example, but there's many more of these. This is certainly a key for an organization like ours, which tries to address some really complicated issues. Be it energy system or understanding basic principle of climate change or major common diseases.
Well, let's maybe try to talk about different career tracks. I mean, the people who are bringing these skills to the table, potentially to the Helmholtz. What are your thoughts about maybe applying these skills not in consumer data, the Googles and Amazons of this world, but maybe coming to Helmholtz? Is it a good step that could prepare you to a more transfer-related career later on, to form like a spin-off with the skills that you gained into the Helmholtz? Would you deem this a fruitful ecosystem for these kind of careers as well?
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a question about career path.
Yes.
And in general, I would say be open to change and mobility more than ever. That has actually always been an important rule in my own life.
Yeah.
It's very important to sort of enter into new environments every once in a while, to sort of interact with new people and new research fields and keep your brain working.
Yeah.
And of course, this also applies to this field of information and data science. One of the charming aspects of this is, in my view, that of course with the skills you can gain at this border zone between information and data science and exciting research areas, you are probably attractive for very many employable environments in the future. So you can pursue an academic career. You can, of course, enter the world of industry and economy easily. You can try to sort of establish your own startup and develop your own entrepreneurial ideas. I think that the possibilities are basically endless.
Endless opportunities for all of you here in the Helmholtz Association. Do you have questions for the president? Not at the moment. Okay, everybody is way too impressed. If you consider now behind the screen lots and lots of hundreds of young people, is there a final message that you give them on the way? Is there some final remarks that you could leave us with?
Well, it's really what I already said. Make sure that you work on topics you are enthusiastic about. That is really important. And you also may want to ask yourself, what problem do I want to solve with my work? Number one. Number two, make sure that you are working in a lively, active, exciting environment. Number three, that I also mentioned, keep your eyes and ears open. Be open to change. I also strongly advocate mobility. Spend some time abroad in a different country, because this is a very important experience also for somebody personally, not only in professional terms. And a final advice I would give that at least has been helpful for me all the time. Rely on the advice of people you trust. I'm a strict believer in mentoring. And if you follow these avenues and are ambitious enough, you will be successful. I would have no doubt along those lines. So in this respect, all the best. I wish you all an exciting day, virtual career day here in the incubator, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Ottmar Wiesler. Again, in the virtual format, you cannot hear the auditorium applauding now, but let me take the opportunity to express my gratitude as well for championing this program, for funding this program, and to give us so many opportunities. I mean, obviously, a lot of the funding that you so generously provide goes into these mobility programs that we'll introduce to this very, very international audience during the course of the day, alongside with all the insights into these great programs. So thank you again for taking some time out of your busy day and joining us in the HIDA studio. There was the president of the Helmholtz Association, Ottmar Wiesler, and we thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye, everybody.
So, as you can hear, we not only have most enthusiastic program heads and researchers, but there is substantial support politically and financially from the very top of this largest organization of Germany. So when I'm talking about lots of opportunity, I hope this kind of like made a little exclamation point that this is truly true.